I'm Laan, and welcome to the LifeKraft podcast. LifeKraft is passionate about helping you live your everyday life better by sharing inspiration, awareness, and tools to enable you to create a fulfilling life. On this episode of the LifeKraft podcast, we have actress, poet, birth worker, and facilitator Quinne Brown. Quinne is best known for her role in the South African soapie Laan, and in this episode, we talk about her journey as an actress and all the other aspects her life has blossomed into. She shares her journey of self-discovery through the arts, marriage, becoming a mother, and the beautiful role she finds herself in now as a doula. Are you ready to be inspired? Then tag at the LifeKraft and at Quinne Brown and share a screenshot with us of your biggest takeaway from this episode. Quinne, welcome to the LifeKraft podcast. It is an honor to have you here, and I know that our listeners are going to learn so much from you. And the life that you've had was so interesting. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. What a pleasure.
You were born in Johannesburg, and you grew up there, and then you studied there as well. And then something happened that changed the course of your life. You got a role as Connie in Laan. So I don't think there's a South African out here that doesn't know Laan and hasn't seen your face there, especially my generation, grew up with you. And how did that experience shape you and shape the course of your life?
Yes, it did. It changed the course of my life. And actually it's a moment in time that really pointed out the power of choice that we all have. So the story that really matters in this whole space is that when I was low, I was very depressed. I was studying something that was just not resonating with me. I was in a space that I chose to be in, but it wasn't aligned, and I was a very unhappy girl. So sort of to the point where I would cry myself asleep, wake up, that heavy feeling in your body, that high anxiety when you go and you have to sit in a class or write a test. I was running jobs to pay for studies. It was an insane time. So one morning I woke up and it was like this weird epiphany that came over me, and it said, hold on a second, you chose to be here. This was your choice. So what freedom when you realize you choose something, because you get to a fork in the road and you can make a different choice. So on my way back to university, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go and embrace anthropology, storytelling, culture. I realized people were fascinating to me. And I was, at the time, one of the 3 jobs that I was doing was working at Laan for pre-production studio, where I was running front of house, waitress for much of my life. And yes, so then I was serving Donnie Odendaal, and on that day he took my hand and he said, come for an audition. And all that was happening in that space is I was open to what else was possible. What else is out there that resonates with me? I don't know. I'm a 19, 20-year-old with not a clue of what I was, who I wanted to be, but I was open to what is possible. And the universe, God, whatever came and said, yeah, how about you try this? And that's what changed the course of my life, was the fact that I woke up recognizing that I had a choice.
It's amazing when you get to that moment in your life where you realize that it makes me think of that scene in Eat, Pray, Love, where she said that she actively participated in every part of the life she had at that moment, even though it wasn't the life that she wanted to live, even though she was so sad. She actively participated in every single aspect of it, and that meant she had the power to change it. It takes me back to that scene. That is so
Yeah.
powerful. But then you were an actress for such a long time. How was that journey?
Yes.
For such a long time on a soapie, which is grueling hours and it's intense work. It's not the easiest job to have, but I mean, the nation loved you and they still do. So how did that shape who you were becoming?
It was, and once you're an actress, you're always an actress because it's storytelling. And I think I realized that that's where the power lies for me, is everybody has a story. And it is just the privilege to tell it as an actress, to practically step into someone else's shoes. What a better way to learn what compassion means or feels like, and true empathy and true understanding, because you can't play a character if you don't love them. So play a villain and love them, the dark side of anybody. The discipline you learn on a soapy set is incredible. And I think at that time, it was one of the biggest gifts. It taught me incredible discipline, and connection with people that spoke a similar language to me. And that was new to me. So I had come back from traveling for a year after school, and I'd found my freedom. And that was incredible. I found my voice. I found out what I resonated with. And then I had a year where I kind of hit the ground and didn't find my community quite yet. And I found my community in the arts. My best friends, my soul sisters, they all started really coming into my life when I really stepped into my own personal truth of artistry. I'd never thought of myself as an actress or an artist. It was not, who am I? So yeah, that was amazing. I think that's really the gift of it. It gave me the gift of myself as an artist.
And I think the key was you were open to it, because we always like certainty. We want to have that 5-step plan, and we want to know each step and how is it going to turn out. And we're going to be certain and sure that this is the path for me. But if you get into that space where it's not even trust, because trust can be a big thing and it can feel really vulnerable sometimes, but it's just that openness. Then you start seeing life flows, your soul tribe comes in, people who you connect with just pop up everywhere, and it's kind of effortless. Even though there is the discipline and there are the long hours and there are the lessons learned, it's never the struggle that it was beforehand.
I just want to affirm what you're saying about it shouldn't be an effort. Action, taking action. And we actually had this conversation earlier today. It's not about trying or to putting in effort and struggle. Taking action that's going towards something that makes you feel good and inspired and walking towards a goal. And taking action is not the same as working so hard and all that effort.
But the next thing I want to touch on are your travels. You traveled a lot throughout your life, and you've had such an interesting experience, not just as an actress, but as traveling. Why do you think traveling is important? What does that bring out in a person?
Oh, traveling for me is about perspective. Yeah, it's about perspective. I think we get very bogged down there's many ways of traveling, and that's what makes the web space and the global society, where we have recipes from all over the world. We have people telling their stories on Netflix from all over the world. So there's many ways of sort of transporting yourself, but there's nothing like the visceral experience of another culture, looking up at the air from another part of the world, being in the northern hemisphere versus the southern hemisphere. Just the stories that has been lived. And when you walk on land carries memory. You can feel it when you walk into places, hearing stories straight from someone's mouth, having a drink with them, or eating food with people in a different country. I mean, I remember I was in Mexico City, and I think it was 3 days. It felt like 3 months. It was one of those those time and places where I felt teleported to another space and time altogether. I went to Frida Kahlo's place. It was the Day of the Dead. I think it was the 1st of November that I was there. So there was a lot of festivals going on. It was full moon. So I travel with great freedom and I trust people, and I've had the most beautiful encounters because of it. Being under the full moon with people in their home. And yes, I mean, there's 100 stories, but traveling is about perspective and really understanding the world from all these different angles. Opens our hearts, it opens our tolerance.
Yes, but I love the perspective that you brought in of using the internet, using different cuisine, using the recipes that you can find in Netflix and all of those things to still stimulate your mind and to still get that different perspective and to still realize that you make too much of your little world sometimes, that there is a whole world out there with all of these different things going on, and that your life is just part of it, but it's not the entirety of it. And I love that the feeling of travel, I always felt so much smaller. My problems felt smaller. The issues that I made in my mind were so much smaller because life is so big and so vast and so diverse.
It does. It makes your problems seem far away. And the reason it does, and this is what I really strive to do in my daily life, is being present. And so being in a foreign country, like all your senses are ignited because it's new and you are away from your daily routine. So there's nothing like that to make you present. And I think that's why we crave traveling, is to rip us out of this, like you said, that 5-year plan of that idea. And someone profound said, you know what? Right now is a time where we are learning that it's not about the 5-year plan. It's about what are we accomplishing this month, this moon cycle, this day. What do you set out for today, and how are you feeling good today and moving towards something that is going to enrich your life, and traveling teaches us that. Like, what do you want to go to today? What cathedral do you want to go see? And that's your movement. So yeah.
Yeah, I never saw it that way. It really does make you more present. It really does. And it's that excitement of the new. Joe Dispenza always talks about that in his books, that just knowing that you can't predict your day will make you want to get up that day. It will make the miracles available to you. That whole going into the river of the unknown and just allowing life to bring things to you, and travel opens that up to you. But while you were abroad, you met your husband, and you guys have been together and married for quite some time now. And I would like to know from you, relationships can be an amazing mirror, and they can really help us grow in ways that we can't when we are single. Being single makes you grow in different ways, but a relationship has a way to mirror things to you that you didn't even know about yourself. In your relationship with Ryan, how has your life grown? What have you learned about yourself?
I met him in South Africa, and then I traveled abroad and we reconnected over there. And that's when we fell in love. And it's been a journey of 17 years. And it is the ultimate mirror. And it's not always pretty, and it's not always easy, because none of us exist without a shadow side or without hard times. And yes, it is easy to walk alone, and you never have to face so much of yourself. Because it's partnership and children that show you the most of you to yourself. And it is the greatest way to expand who you are. And expansion is hard, right? Expansion, it is brave being in relationship. It is brave stepping into parenthood consciously and understanding that we are all only responsible for ourselves. Your question is, how has my relationship changed and expanded me? In every single way. It's expanded my world, because I got to live in America for 10 years, and I understood, I was given the opportunity to experienced so much of myself, because we're very different. Ryan and I are very different. So he is an entrepreneur, business, practical mind. And, he's an American. That's a very different culture also. Our languages are different. And so making myself understood and really getting clear on who I am became very important. I believe that we are mostly each other's witnesses, that we work as partners, and there's parallels. So let's grow together. And yes, we've got each other's back, and we are, sometimes you've got to hold each other up one way or the other. Being in partnership with him as a parent is incredible, because he shows me ways to communicate with my children thought of otherwise. He brings in such a beautiful way as a father.
Now I want to get to your beautiful children, because I know I listened to a video of yours where you said that especially your first child that you had kind of shook your world. It kind of changed everything when she came into this world. Will you tell us a bit more about that?
I fell pregnant, and at first it was like, okay, yes. And I had felt my body change before I understood that I was pregnant. I had recognized that there was this space that was opening up in my world. The way I was eating, drinking, I suddenly didn't want caffeine. That wasn't the same with my second pregnancy. That's not always the same. But what I'm saying is my body signaled before it was even real. It was really quite profound. Sure. And then living in San Francisco at the time with incredible neighbors that was just nurturing and kind, and my soul people. So I felt really cared for and really nurtured. And I knew from the moment I felt pregnant, I knew what my path would be with this, as far as wanting to be the authority. I understood how sacred of a time it was, because I've worked as a metamorphosis practitioner. And that is all about prenatal therapy. It's really understanding the womb time from conception to birth, and how significant that first development space of coming into being human is, and how it affects our life going forward. So I fell pregnant in 2010. In 2008, I had a women's circle, one of the circles I hosted. And one of the women that came in, Laan, was like, oh, I'm here in town because it's a doula training that I'm doing. I'm like, a what? What? A doula training. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's that? And I remember we pulled a card for her, and we pulled the whale card. It's an animal card, and it's all about this birthing sort of gestation period that we are in. It was so beautiful. And when she spoke about a doula and what a doula does, I got goosebumps all over my body, and my eyes shot full of tears of understanding that this was significant, because a doula is someone who serves women. And that's always been part of my pathway, is serving women. And when she spoke about what a doula's place is around the emotional, spiritual, physical support and holding space for birthing partners and couples and women, I was just like, yes, please, this is amazing. So I knew I wanted a doula when I was going to give birth. We moved cities when I was 8 months pregnant. I had to find home, community, hospital, midwives, blah, blah, blah. It was a big deal. And her birth was beautiful. And I witnessed myself. There's a thing they call labor land when you go into labor with your baby. So it's when all the hormones start coming in, and it's a type of euphoria, and you're managing extreme discomfort. It is uncomfortable giving birth. It is not, it's uncomfortable. And it's so significant to know that that is okay. It's not supposed to feel like some jelly is coming out of your vagina. No, you are giving birth to a human. And whether you're doing it via cesarean or vagina, it's uncomfortable. Like, you're not going to skip the uncomfortable parts, right? And so for me, birth, labor, parenting relates back to life in every single way. I can bring it back and relate and say, oh, it's like that part of birth. It's like that part of labor. It's that stage whenever someone is going through transition. And I witnessed myself in labor. I remember I stood on the table and I looked into the mirror and I saw an animal. I saw a lion's face, a lioness. And I became so aware of a power, and it was scary. It was quite scary too, but it was like literally a couple of hours before she was born. I was in transition. It was really epic. And there's nothing like that feeling when she was born. And this long-legged little being came into my arms and changed everything. And so it was a very powerful moment.
It's fascinating because I'm not a parent yet, and I have been planning getting a doula and how the birth is going to be and all of the preparation and all of those things. Like, I have it completely planned. I'm not even married yet. So what is a doula and what do they do and why is it so significant?
Can we start embracing how powerful and significant the feminine in this world is, and how do we activate and ignite it and honor it and put it back in place so that our world can actually heal? So I am like extremely passionate, and you'll see I have to like hold myself together, because it all starts with how we treat a pregnant woman and how do we enfold her and support her, not because she's sick, not because she's frail, because she's a goddess carrying life, and because she needs to be honored, and we are making room for another human being that could change the world. Because every single person that does come in shifts, just the way when someone goes out, the world changes forever. It just does, because we're all connected. And the feminine understands the connection. The feminine understands the creative and that creating force. Like that's the energy of the creative, right? So the doula is someone that understands the sacredness of this space and holds it sacred, because we have moved into a system that's very masculine and very patriarchal. Now, I'm not saying bringing the feminine and kick out the masculine. Please, no, please, please, please. The masculine is essential. It is essential. Here's my latest analogy. I'll give it to you. Imagine a dancer on a stage. If that stage has holes in it and is not solid, how's she going to dance? Like she's not really going to move very much. She's not going to have freedom in her movement. She's going to hold her shoulders because she's not going to want to step in a hole. The dancer is the feminine. The stage, which you need, is the masculine. We need the masculine to be solid and a structure, and so that the dancer and the feminine can play and dance and create and fill the space. So that's how I see it. And in the doula space, for me, it's become a very, it's a space of education to bring people back to their core understanding of who they are. I work with a lot of parents, and we are breaking through a lot of preconditioned fear. So let's break through the fear and understand where it comes from, so that you can move through the uncomfortability of birth and every stage of parenting. Because here's the thing, labor and birth never ends. Once you have a child, you're going to labor and birth pretty much consistently, because that child has to learn to roll, eat, speak, walk, the rules of society, engaging in their specific way. You are walking with that child and being their witness and their guide every step of the way. And every moment is hard. So it doesn't end with, oh, you got through your beautiful birth. Like I said, I did that. I went empowered through an empowered birth experience. And there was interesting moments in that journey myself, because it was the first time, and there was a lot of things that wasn't quite in place. If I had known more, if I had even more education, it would have looked even more different. But alas, I've learned a lot, and that's why my service as a doula, carries my own experience. That's where my expertise come from, is from experience, and learning how to work with parents as partners. So the partner never gets pushed out. He or she is an integral part of that becoming. They're both becoming parents. So you're not just supporting a woman,
Absolutely.
you're supporting the birthing team. And it's with, information and physical support and emotional, spiritual support. There's no medical support. That's not in our scope of practice. We're not medically trained. So people always go, oh, you're going to catch a baby, or you're delivering. I'm like, no. I'm not a midwife. I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically trained. And it's really important, because otherwise I get very confused between that. It was just International Midwifery Day. And I think we should honor our midwives and really honor the space that they carry, the wisdom of a midwife.
Oh, I love that. I want to touch on something that you said in regards to how you eat and how you think and your environment and all of those things. What advice do you have for pregnant women, whether they're already in their pregnancy or whether they're thinking about becoming pregnant? What's one or two things that you can advise them to just be aware of, just be conscious of during that period, to lessen the effects of the old traumas and all of those things, and really give that child the best they can at the stage of life where they are?
It's a big sense of responsibility that gets loaded onto a pregnant mama. And we've got to be so careful, because we don't want to activate the anxiety or the stress that they already have, just because of what is looming, this huge responsibility or change. Everything that we do and feel and experience and come from, we have the ability to shift with just the breath. It is as simple as knowing how to breathe. And I know it sounds really silly, because we all know how to breathe. But we don't. We breathe here. And especially when we have anxiety, and especially when we're scared, we forget to just take a step back. And so breath is everything. Because once you remember to breathe, you can think, I don't like this space. This story this person is telling me does not feel good. This engaging the news every day does not feel good. I can feel my shoulders go, and my body's telling me it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And if I realize that I'm affecting everything I feel and hear and see and smell and eat and drink and move with affects my baby, I'm going to guard my space. So when I breathe, I can think, and I can then go, you know what? I need to move. I need to move today. And if you don't want to move outside, put a song on, but move your body. That baby needs to understand the sacredness of being human, and they get all that space and water. Every time you move, they feel comforted. What you eat matters so much. It doesn't mean don't eat sushi, don't drink coffee, don't, I'm not talking about all the don'ts. That's not it. You can keep eating what you've been eating before you were pregnant, but notice what feels good in your body. Notice how it affects your emotional body. Because if you eat sugar is really something we should try and cut when we're pregnant, because the repercussions of sugar is not nice. We all crave, and I'm like, do it. Have a fruit and have a piece of chocolate every once in a while, or a bowl of ice cream, and treat yourself. Because if you have it and it's what you've been wanting for a week, and wonderful. Yes, please have it. Now, always go talk to your care provider who knows your medical history. But we see a lot of preeclampsia cases. It's growing. And the only reason it's growing is because of people's anxiety levels is over the top.
Through the roof.
It's ridiculous. So we need to navigate our stress and meditate. Move, breathe, and choose your thoughts carefully and who you engage and how they activate thought processes in your mind. If you don't like a story, go say, I need to go pee. You're pregnant. You can do that. Yeah. You're allowed.
Yes. We've come to our last question. I can't believe it because I'm enjoying speaking to you so much. But the last question of the night is, what is one thing that we can do today to live our everyday lives better?
Here's the thing. Love is the only thing that this is about. If you start understanding how chemically love is activated in our bodies through the hormone oxytocin, which is been nicknamed the love hormone. If there's not oxytocin when people are making love or making babies, the point of conception doesn't happen.
Sure.
Without oxytocin, the expelling hormone doesn't come and that baby doesn't get birthed. You know, it's like why I keep hammering on about following what feels good so that you can activate the love, because then you are more kind to yourself and others. And it's just this, you find more freedom in your self-expression and moving through this world. And it activates our ability to respond more graciously. And now we're acting responsibly. So love wins.
I love that. Yes. I want to take a moment to just acknowledge you for the impact that you have made in so many people's lives and the impact that you're making. The journey that you went on in that moment where you decided that you're just going to open yourself up, open your heart up to the universe and everything that you allow to come through that. From your days as an actress to being a wife, to being a mother, to being a doula, to serving and to letting life shape you into the woman that you are today, that has helped us feel okay to be that too and to go on our own journeys. So thank you for putting in that work, if I could put it in inverted commas, because that is the work that we came here to do. And I know that you will still make a big impact in the world in the years to come. So thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and taking the time to invest in yourself and in your future. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with us by leaving a positive review or tagging us in a post or in your stories. Share one thing that stood out or inspired you to live your everyday life better. This helps us create more meaningful episodes for you to enjoy. If you're not already following us on social media, be sure to follow @LifeKraft for more inspiration and tools to help you live your most powerful life. And remember, you always have the power to craft a better life for yourself, and we are here to help you do just that. We'll connect again in the next episode, and until then, keep creating a life that you're excited to wake up to. We enjoy bringing you interviews from experts and everyday people so that they can talk about their experiences and share information, tips, and what has worked for them on their journey towards a better life. However, remember that the opinions or advice of our guests and myself, the host, should not be taken as personal, actionable advice and is given as general information and education only. Please always remember to consult a qualified professional before implementing any medical, financial, legal, or other advice that you believe might work for you. LifeKraft is not responsible nor liable for your decision when implementing anything you hear on the podcast. Please listen and act responsibly. The opinions of our guests do not represent the opinions or views of LifeKraft or Melissa Laan personally and are meant as information and general education only. Education only. Education only.